It was Peter's turn to chair the board meeting. He was already there, drumming his fingers impatiently, when Saul and Mary headed into the room. Moses was hanging around outside, toying with his gold-rimmed pince-nez, waiting for them. Clearly he didn't fancy being treated to Peter's undivided attention. "Morning, morning," boomed Peter cheerfully. "Hi, Saint. How's the holiday home going?" asked Mary. "Great, thanks. Look at this photo. We completed yesterday." He skimmed a picture across the table. Saul picked it up. "Paradise Villa," he read. "Where is it?" "Florida Keys. We got the keys this morning." He flourished the bunch at his belt and waved a large golden one. "We're starting the day by looking at the keys to paradise. Should be a great meeting, darlings," cried Saul. "Thank you, Saul. OK, let's get to it," said Peter. "First item, tablets of the last meeting. I'd like it formally recorded that Moses is to be congratulated on getting them out within 2 weeks of the meeting. Moses, etch it down, man, etch it down." Patronising git, thought Mary, trying not to look at Peter. Item 2. This meeting is to formally insist that all special operations and other earthly actions are properly documented and recorded. The Great Plains Standard GPS 5750. We simply cannot operate like we did with the Orthodox Schism anymore. This isn't some two-soul outfit." He sat back and folded his arms. "With respect, Saint," said Saul acidly, "this is still a small operation. We simply don't have the resources to comply with GPS 5750. Maybe you do in operations, but we certainly don't in marketing." Mary could see this going on for some time. She decided to step in. "I'll tell you what, I'll ask my new guy Croesus to carry out an investigation into the possibility of us qualifying for GPS 5750. He's pretty good on this formal stuff." "OK," said Peter shortly. "Take it to the minutes, Moses. Formal investigation into GPS 5750 to report back at the next meeting." "It might take a while, Saint," said Mary. "Maybe we could just ask him to present when it's ready." "Which will take several centuries," she thought to herself. "I'll make sure it's on his priority list." "All right, Mary, have it your way. Moses, if you please. But I still think it's time we built the infrastructure for growth." Peter's arms, still folded, rose higher up his padded chest. "Well, maybe we could move on to talk about growth, since it's on the agenda anyway," said Mary. "Croesus is hot on demographics, did it in soul accounting school, studied under Solon, one of the real authorities." "Oh yes, I remember him. He's on the marketing syllabus too," said Saul. "Count no man happy until he is dead," he declaimed theatrically. "No, Saul, this is accountancy. We're trained to take a pessimistic view. Count no man until he's dead. We don't bother too much about the happy bit. Anyway, Croesus has done these projections, counting just how many will be dead by the next generation." She handed around some slides. "Turnover projected down by 35 to 50% within a generation," exclaimed Peter. "This just can't be true. We're swimming in souls at the moment. We really can't cope with the turnover." "Well, we can help you there," said Saul. "I sent some guys down to study your problems, Saint." "Nothing we can't manage if I could bring some more staff in," said Peter huffily. "Yes, of course you could. But in the meantime, we've managed to get the Panthers to go for the idea that their souls have to sit in a kind of sorting office before they're moved on to heaven. We're calling it purgatory." "Brilliant, Saul," exclaimed Mary. But you see, darlings, it gets better. We've managed to persuade them that if they pay for it, they can be sent express class. Otherwise, they just have to wait for processing as usual. We're calling it the Doctrine of Indulgences. The punters seem to love it, and you just won't believe how much extra revenue it brought in during the pilot project. An awful lot of them seem keen to pay for faster shipment." "OK, Saul, I have to admit that's pretty good," conceded Peter. "Do I have a permission to roll it out to all countries, then?" "Of course, Saul. Moses, to the tablets, please," boomed Peter. "Otherwise the finances are still fabulous," said Mary. "For now," said Saul. "But 35 to 50% down by next generation. It's going to be bloody. Better start praying for this schism." "Next agenda item, then," said Peter. "Progress on the schism." He sat back looking pleased with himself. "Moses, did you distribute the reporting pack?" "Yes, Saint, we've all seen it." Lots of charts and figures. Lovely. I particularly like the appendix on GPS 5750 compliance you've included. There's just one thing, Peter dear, said Mary. Yes, Mary? It doesn't actually tell us what you're going to do, does it? Interjected Saul. So maybe you could just summarise that for us verbally now, put in Mary sweetly, seeing Peter start to bridle in response to Saul. Peter recovered his enthusiasm. Well, he began bullishly, it's going great. The standard schisms operating procedure, GPS 9988, mandates a division of doctrinal leadership as the key prerequisite for a successful schism. So we've set up an anti-pope in this place Avignon. Saul's normally sallow complexion paled further. His whitening face contrasted with his thinning red-tinted hair and today's brown cravat. He looked like a Neapolitan ice cream. Using what theological basis? He asked quietly. Mary steeled herself for the answer. Disagreements over poverty, replied Peter. Still wrapped up in his project plan, he failed to pick up the acute distress signals emanating from Mary and Saul. Even Moses looked more interesting than usual. You plonker, Peter, spluttered Saul. I really don't think that's appropriate language for a board meeting. Moses, please could you add an item for the next agenda regarding a formal code of conduct? Saul, would you care to explain yourself in more professional terms? Demanded Peter coldly. Mary decided to step in quickly. Don't you see, Saint? With a basis like that, all they'll do is fight each other, have witch hunts, ravage the countryside. I bet the Holy Roman Emperor is already marching his armies around, isn't he? Peter nodded. And the King of France, so what? Saul stepped in. So they'll just end up depopulating even more of Europe. It'll just exacerbate the effects of the Black Death. Yes, great, you'll get us another short-term boost, although I don't know what sort of price we'll get for soldiers' souls in bulk right now, or for the souls of ravaged peasants or burnt witches either, for that matter. But you're just going to make the long-term trend worse. I'll get some Croesus to do some flash figures. Saul, you need to do something. Don't you have an idea? Said Mary. Saul sulked. Yes, but with an anti-pope marauding around, the picture's been rather badly queered. You should know, said Peter rudely. What is it, anyway? I've got this chap Martin Luther all primed and ready to go with a reformation. The trouble is, he wants to abolish the indulgences we've just got going so nicely and mess up the purgatory process. I thought you said you were giving him his ideas in dreams, put in Mary. Couldn't you have avoided those two? Yes, but sometimes he thinks of things by himself. We can't stop that happening, can we? Snapped Saul impatiently. Maybe we could keep him on hold for now. Give my schism a bit more time. Wait for Croesus to produce the flash forecasts. I'm sure it'll be much more positive than you make out, suggested Peter. Could you UHT him? We've already made him long life, just in case, Saul added pointedly. Let's go with that, said Mary, glad to find a way to buy back a bit of time to work out just how much damage Peter had inflicted on them. Moses, could you take that to the tablets, please? Now, any other business? Yes, there is, said Peter, suddenly sheepish. I wondered if you'd mind accompanying me to the meeting with the unions this afternoon, Mary. Scared of that winter woman, Saint? Asked Saul mischievously. You mean the new General Secretary of the Soul Miners' Organisation of Unionised Labour? Asked Mary. S-O-U-L, clarified Peter. I used to get on so well with the previous guy. We were at disciple school together. But he's been ousted by this militant monster winter woman. She calls herself the Queen of Soul, observed Saul. I thought maybe you could give me a bit of support, Mary. Bring a feminine touch to the meeting, pleaded Peter. Mary looked irritated. If I must, what's she like anyway? Don't you watch the news? Said Saul. She's a rebel. You may not like her looks or her style. The boys in her group, they just want to drag her way down, said Peter. But the majority of soul miners are women these days. She easily won the nomination to General Secretary. If she comes your way, she'll make you surrender. warned Saul. Not me, she won't, said Peter firmly. I'm not so sure, Saint, said Saul.
What she wants is what you've got.
Peter looked alarmed. Fine, Peter, I'll come along, said Mary crisply, deciding it would be better to close the discussion. Anyway, she was quite interested to meet a woman who could have Peter quaking so obviously in his boots.